welcome to another episode of La Artisteada. I'm Kiara Gonzalez Duran, and today we got a very special episode for you. Today we are gonna meet the team. So this is Erin Jimenez, and this is Diego Lopez de Anda, and they are the people that are behind every episode, every event coverage, and every live episode experience. So we're gonna talk a little bit today about how we met, how we started working together, and also their lives outside of La Artisteada, because we got a lot going on here, but we also got a lot going on outside. So let's start, I guess, like in simple terms. If you were to tell someone what is La Artisteada, how would you describe what we do?
I always say La Artisteada is like a collective. I always say we are there for artists that are rising and semi-established, especially for our community like BIPOC, we LGBTQ, we really love everyone that has come to our events or is part of the podcast. That's what I normally say when I'm pitching it to people.
Yeah, I mean, and to add to that, I think like when Kiara first came to me and was like, I have this idea, this is the name, and I was like, I have heard of that, right? La Artisteada. So I always tell people, this is what it means, the translation of like, at least in Hispanic culture, and we can definitely say that in other cultures, being an artist is just a phase. And this is what I tell people. Growing up, it's like, oh yeah, they're just in a phase where they're not gonna, they're gonna grow up to be a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever. And growing up, I knew I wasn't gonna be a doctor or a lawyer. I knew I wanted to do something in the creative world. And so I feel like everyone kind of passes through that. So I always say like, we are showing these success stories of, it's not just a phase, like I'm actually going to be successful in this, and we're kind of showing everyone like, hey, these people can be successful as an artist. So I really try to emphasize that, because there are some people that are coming to our events and they're like, is this even something safe to be doing, trying to be an artist? So I really try to emphasize that, yes, it is a community, but it's also trying to show the success story or even like the journeys that everyone's going through.
Yeah, I think like when we started, it was interesting to me, because for me it was so hard. Like, we all work in entertainment, like in different facets or spaces of the entertainment industry, and to me it was always fascinating how people came together to build something. Because I was like, but if I tell someone, like, I can't pay them, like I can't, and I think like everything sounds like it needs to get paid, but I met a lot of like collectives or groups, and I remember that when I told you, like, I was doing a previous Zoom podcast and iteration, so about like, oh my gosh, like I need to edit this, can you help me? And then we started kind of like developing the idea. Can you talk a little bit like from your side of the story of how we came to start working together?
Yeah, I mean, so I joined NBC Universal as a page, and one of my rotations was sitting right next to Kiara. We became chismosas, besties, sitting right next to each other for 4 months. So obviously we were telling everything that was going on in our lives, and part of that was your podcast. And I was like, honestly, that's really cool. And I think one day I just kind of offered myself. I was like, if you need anything, like, please let me know. Just because I think at the time I wanted to get into something more creative, especially being in like the corporate life. So I was like, okay, I need something creative because I can't right now.
Yeah, no, and specifically, like I remember I was like, I need to edit this one episode. Like, yeah. I'm like down to pay, like, I don't know, $30, I think it was. And I remember that I was like, I need something, and you offered to do it, but you were like, but you don't need to pay me. And I was like, what?
Yeah. No, because that's how desperate I was to do something creative. Yeah, I mean, I think at the time I was really just like 9 to 5, commuting to work, seeing my friends. Like, that was it. And I was like, I have this itch to do something creative, but not that I wanted to create it. So I think this was like the perfect opportunity. And I was like, hey, I raised my hand. And then I think from there, it was like maybe 2 episodes, right, that I edited. And then I was like, if you ever want to like grow this, I'm down. And then shortly but surely you were like talking to people about this idea. And then I remember waiting for the train when you called me about the idea for the name, and that's why like the whole like thing just started happening. Yeah, so
I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful. Me being part of the story. But I remember that like that year I was so committed. I was like, I want to start recording live. Like we need to start having in-person conversations and interactions. Yeah. And I remember that we went to the library together to see like, because they have a podcast studio. So we're like, we can do it here. We can like invite people here. And then we also like talked with another producer that we loved working with, Silo. And we produced like first and second season together. And then later we're like, okay, can we do more? Can we do something different? And I remember I was very stressed out this 1 week. And I would like, Diego and I like met at an event. And I was like, you know, I am someone that's extremely open about everything going on in my life. So he asked me like, hey, Kiara, how are you? Of course, I told him exactly how I was. I was like, man, I'm like so stressed. I'm dealing with this. Like, I don't know how to go about it. And then you started talking. Do you remember that conversation?
I do remember that conversation.
Diego has entered the chat.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been so funny to me because like, I've always been a fan of your work, and we have been friends for like 3-4 years before that. So like I was like, I'm not gonna help. I always told her, I'm not gonna help you. And it actually happened. Like, we were like, let's do it.
Yeah, but I remember specifically, you were like because every time we saw each other, you told me like, yeah, that episode was so good, and I was like, oh, I'm glad someone's listening.
I did say that, but I was also like, well, you can also fix this.
Constructive.
That's how you get the job.
No, but I remember in that conversation, you told me like, hey, Kiara, well, actually, like I wanted to, like I had been thinking like, have you thought about going to live events or like going to these things? And I remember that you offered to help me edit a couple of episodes. I was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, and I remember because you had gone to the event and we were in a period of transition with like the producer and stuff, and I remember the way that you put it to me was he came up to me and he said, I've made it to like a stable point in my career where I'm just happy and like willing to help my friends with the projects that they're doing. So like, do you need help? And she was like, yes.
I was like, you came just at the right time.
It was like from the initial conversation to me actually hopping on, it was like maybe like a week or two.
Literally, I remember like setting up the meeting and you showed up, and then we were like, okay, like let's just keep on going. I think we were kind of mid-season, I think, at that point. Yeah, so we were like, okay, what's the idea? Let's just wrap this up. And it was a smooth, very smooth transition.
Yeah, it was like, oh, blessed. But I also would also love to talk about something that very recently happened. So we just covered the Hola Mexico Film Festival like 2 weeks ago, and we like put out content. We partnered with Univision, and that was great on its own. But I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been a year since you reached out to Hola Mexico Film Festival, and that was the very first event that we attended as a podcast. Can you talk about like the first thing? Because I think that oftentimes like we don't really think about the possibilities outside of what we're doing, or how can we like continue to be active and showing up for our community. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, like I think the idea came because we're fans of film festivals. Like I work in the film industry, and that's how we met. And I'm sure we met Erin at some point in the film festival. So I think it was a good idea. And I had already known about Hola Mexico. And it was just like everything about the timing just kind of worked out, right? So I was like, I'm going to join. Then I was like, let's do something different. Let's add more things. Like I love the podcast, but we can do so much more. Like we're a team of very creative people. We're a team that is down to go to anything. So I think that was like...
Yeah, and I remember when you sent the email, we were like, oh, well, let's see what happens.
Like, maybe,
we got it. We're like, yeah, I feel like little hermanitas just jumping around. And so, okay, so I would love to talk also about like your lives outside of the podcast, because I think that like we're gonna bring it back to how we've created also our community events where we help each other like build stuff or work with people that we meet at our events. But before that, I would love for us to talk a little bit about what we do. So I know that you got a lot of experience working in shows and television, and that is your main thing. Not to say that this isn't also a main thing, it's another main thing, okay?
One of my many things.
Yeah, but can you talk about that journey, like how you started, what you do now?
Yeah, so I went to college for television production. Shout out to CSUN. I had been working on like reality TV shows, scripted, commercial, all those things as a PA. And it's like slowly I made my way into like assistant directing, which is what I do mostly. Assistant director is basically like the right hand of the director and like kind of like the middleman between the director and the producers. I'm also just like scheduling, dealing with talents. So that's like my main thing. I also do a lot of photography, a lot of creative things. I'm just someone who loves creative things, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and when you got out of college, because I think that I remember that when we were talking about the podcast, you were in a period of a lot of silence in the industry because it was like right out of kind of like not right out of the pandemic, but kind of like after the pandemic when there were a lot of writer strikes and like a lot of strikes. Yeah. But now, from our chit chats, you have like job after job after job, and I don't think that that's something that usually happens in the industry. Yeah. Can you talk about your beginnings when you started like looking for opportunities? Yeah. Were you working for free? Were you not working for free because you had a degree? Like, how did you approach that?
And also the decision to like, is I preferred stability and I went into the corporate world, but making that jump and saying like, I'm going to stick to freelance and this is the way that I'm going, because that's a decision to make.
It was very difficult, and like I definitely had 100% like the support of my parents, you know? Like my dad was letting me stay at home, like really big, things like to pay for or anything. So it did start. I did graduate in 2020, which is probably like the hardest time to get into the industry. I would look on it, like Instagram, I would look on Craigslist, I would look on Facebook. I would literally look everywhere where it's like job postings, I would check. So I actually, my first big job was from Craigslist. Oh. And it was one of those things where like, it was like in the middle. It was kind of crazy because they're like, yeah, just come to this location. We was in Lancaster. The call time was like 5 a.m. So I show up there in the middle of the night. And like, I was well, this is
in Lancaster.
This is how my career ends and starts.
Yeah.
So that was like kind of like the first few months of just like working in one job, maybe one job at a time. Like luckily I started working with a company that was also freelancing, but it was like more constant. Mm-hmm. And that just kind of like every opportunity from the beginning was basically free. Like a lot of them. And like to this point, like I do get paid for 90% of my job, but when I love something, I'll be like, I'm flexible, let's do it. I just want to do something creative.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's crazy, because I do think that like we all came into entertainment at a time that was very difficult. Like it was a pandemic, and then after the pandemic, like your idea when you graduate from college is like, oh, I'm gonna start working at a show, and like that's gonna be what it is when you want to work in television or in film, right? But that wasn't necessarily the reality well, thankfully, like we did find opportunities right after we graduated, but we came in a very like difficult time. And you work in the corporate side of creativity, which is very important. And I think right now that like people are like talking so much about how like the industry is just stagnant and all these things. Like, can you tell us a little bit about your journey and why you also think it's important to be on this side of the industry?
Yeah. So I also studied film and TV production. Like I said, I kind of always knew this is the way that I want to go. I just don't know what role that is. And that kind of played into my career journey. I had some internships, and I actually was part of a fellowship called the Emma Bowen Foundation Fellowship. So they partner you with a corporate company for an internship every summer until you graduate. So I joined
How did you find out about this?
In high school, actually. High school, we had like our college counselor that would send out all the opportunities. The thing was that you had to be 18 to apply. And so when I graduated school, my birthday's in August, so by the time that I was starting college, I was barely turning 18. So that was the opportunity that was the time in like that I was able to actually apply. And so I started after my freshman year of college. So that was my first summer. So I ended up doing 3 summers at Hallmark Channel, and I fell in love with the world of like development and scripted programming. I think I knew that I can't write, but I can edit writing. So that was kind of like, okay, development executive or programming or something along those lines. And then I was graduating college in the middle of a pandemic, and I was like, okay, so I don't have a job lined up, but also do I want to even apply to development roles because this is all I've known. You know, I don't know anything else about the industry. So I came across the PAGE program, which was, I found that opportunity through my fellowship because they have kind of like a partnership with NBC Universal. So my fellowship said, hey, you should apply to this. Like, we can help you work on your application. It is very extensive and it is a very hard program to get into, but we're in your corner. Apply.
Yeah. Someone told me that we're not paid to promote this, but someone told me that the NBCU PAGE program is like the Harvard of PAGE programs.
Yeah, they say it's supposedly, allegedly, it's harder to get in than like Harvard, just because there are so little slots in the amount of candidates that they get every single year, and you have to be a college graduate. So especially at that time, it was crazy because everyone was looking for opportunities. Like, so it was very, very competitive. And so I applied once and I didn't get in. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna apply again because I think this is such a great program because you are rotating through a company. You're having mini internships basically, right? You're at a department for 4 months and you rotate to the next one and you have 3 rotations in total. So I was like, you know what? At least I'm gonna figure out what I do or what I don't wanna do. So I stayed within the program, and then that's kind of how I found you. And then it was time to graduate the program, and I was back in a difficult situation with the strikes. Again, no one was hiring, the economy situation was so weird, and shows were completely stopped. So I think I figured out what I didn't want to do. I kind of narrowed down where I wanted to go, but that wasn't really going to happen at the time. So I ended up taking a position at my first rotation team, which is where I'm at now, and it's in television music. So I get to see kind of like both the creative and the business side of everything that goes behind a TV show and the music that is either made for it or incorporated into it. So it's very extensive, but I knew that I wanted to do something outside. Like I said, at the time, I was very like craving something creative, just because being at a desk all day is not fun. And although my job can be creative at times, and I am reading scripts and I'm breaking them down, etc., I don't really get to see a lot of that creative stuff. So I knew that I wanted to scratch that itch somehow. But I also think, like, specifically in the world of La Artisteada and like that community building, for me, growing up in where I'm from, at least, it's very Asian populated, and so I never found myself relating to anyone. All my friends growing up, like, it was just, I didn't see myself fitting, basically. So when I got to college, I knew, where are my people at? Because I do not belong here. So definitely, like, just finding my gente Latina and just kind of uplifting them, because I knew I had a privilege of being at a company, especially like NBC Universal. So I wanted to do everything in my power while I was still on that side to kind of help and uplift these people on the other side. And
I think it's interesting because you did not mention, but I remember when we were like in our little desk, you would tell me that you also produce music videos on the side. Like, that was something that you did. Are you still doing that? Is that something that you closed the chapter on? Because, and how did that help you for your role in TV music per se?
So because I had my major, my track in school was film and TV production, we had the opportunity to work on student films and stuff. So I started off with student films producing, and I was like, this is great because I get to see the creative, but I'm also doing all the business. Like, I'm organizing, I'm also wearing 10 billion hats, and it's also very stressful, but this is great. Like, I love what I'm doing, but like I said, I knew I was not ready to go into freelance. And so shortly after that, I think just working with my professors and working with these students, when they started graduating, they started coming to me, or my professors were saying, hey, like, I know you graduated, are you doing anything? And so this was a period of time where I was barely applying to the PAGE program for the second time, so I had nothing to do. And again, we were just coming out of the pandemic, so there wasn't much going on. And so I just got into the field of producing music videos. So I was able to do 2 kind of large scale ones for two heavy metal bands. So very different from like what I listen to, but I think it was such an amazing experience, and also just getting a taste of the world of production and like being on set, but knowing at the end of the day I'm not ready for this, and I think I need to go into the corporate world to kind of gain more experience. So how did it help me in terms of my job? I think it really helped me in terms of like, okay, when we're talking to people and negotiating and kind of having those conversations, I think that's kind of how I was able to translate those skills from being on set and being a producer to being at a company and kind of being like, okay, you know, we're hiring these people, or we're also having a goal of like who we want to hire, and so it's kind of like doing that research of who we want to hire talent wise.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me because I feel like sometimes we think that our careers are just gonna be like, this is what I'm gonna focus on and we'll grow tomorrow. But like, for example, TV music is something that I didn't really know about until you started working there, I think. So I was like, what is that? But like, yeah, it's musicians that like make music for shows.
And we're literally in the same building as well. And she's like, wait, where do you sit? And I'm like, we're in the same building.
Yeah. But it is very real. Like when you come out of school, like in paper, it seems so easy. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna go direct. Gonna direct. Well, it's like, really? Like, it's about money, it's about, it's about a lot of people to get to that point. So like, even for me, like to get to where I am, like I tried so many things. Like I worked on camera, I worked on grips, so like setting up lights. I went into office PA, like I went to coordinate. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. So like, it's definitely about testing the waters. So like, what do you want to do?
Yeah, and I think something that I don't know if we like really talk about it on here, but the reason why or at least when I was thinking about the podcast, I know that the name's in Spanish, right? It's La Artisteada, but I think that the intention, when you start working at these different spaces, you're like, oh my gosh, like how can I connect with other people to like network? And when I was working at my first job at an agent, well, that was technically my second job because my first job I worked for 4 months, but it was also in the industry. But I don't even put that on my resume because no one needs to know. But at that first job, I remember that I was like meeting people, and yes, I went to the Latino groups, but I was like, no, I'm like being friends with like my Black friends or like my like Asian people that I meet at this building. And I think that we connect because we are so like there's not that many of us in the industry. And particularly right now, we're going through a very difficult time in this country, which are things that like already existed, but they've just like unleashed. And I think that this reflects also in the spaces where we work and the work that we particularly do. Like we welcome everyone, but we're specific. We celebrate diverse creativity. And because we know that like we can support and uplift each other. And yeah, like even people that don't necessarily self-identify with an underrepresented group, they can also support and show up, you know? So like, can you talk about your experience as like in regards to your identities in the spaces where you worked? How has that been? Like, you as a Latino, as a Mexican American in the spaces where you're working, which I know are usually predominantly white, how do you show up and like, how do you keep representing, but also like keep doing your job, you know?
It's been an interesting journey because like when I moved from Mexico, like obviously diversity was not a thing. Like you don't even think about it because you're with other Mexicans, you know. But once you move here, like the separation of all the minorities and like especially like white folks, it's very apparent. So it's like one of those things where you kind of have to like how do you call it, to like to blend into the culture? Like
immerse yourself.
Like you have to immerse yourself.
Assimilate.
Assimilate. Perfect. Assimilate. So assimilation was a very big part of my life from like elementary to high school. Like I really was not proud of myself. Like it was very scary to talk about it because I also like grew up in Santa Cruz and it's like 80% white Americans, you know. So it is something that like I didn't really think about until I got to college. In college, I joined a group where like it was mostly Latino men. Like we talked about academics, we talked about about ourselves in the just the American culture. So I think that kind of pushed me to the right direction. And that kind of led me to, once I started working in the industry, to like be proud of myself. To like, I'm Mexican, I'm brown, like I need to take up this space. Because so many times I walk into set and I'm the only like brown person there. And like everyone knows I'm Mexican. And everywhere I walk, I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of where I've come from. And like I need everyone to know that, you know? Like we are very little people. And also when I see someone,
we're big people. We're little in the mounds.
We're like, and that's another thing that I do. Like I try to push other people, other minorities to like be in the same position I am. So whenever someone asks me on site, oh, like how you get there, I'm super open up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for you?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, growing up, Asian friends, Asian heavy area, and I think I never really understood identity until I was graduating high school, and I was like, wait, like I always knew I didn't really belong, but I didn't understand how. And so when I got to college and I had ended those high school relationships, I was like in search for someone to relate to. And same thing. I found a group, an organization, and those girls are my friends till now, you know, and we have really close relationships. And I think once I got into my corporate job, I was like, okay, I established my friend group, but now my friends are living their own lives, their own careers. Who's gonna help me continue moving forward now in this new space that I'm in, which is in my career? So once I got into the corporate world, and I had always seen it, I mean, Hallmark Channel, right? Very not diverse stories. I mean, at the time, like, intersectionality was like very brand new as well, and we were getting a lot of pushback for having a white man with a black woman story, or like the stories that we would have for Hispanic would be like something about a quinceañera, and I'm like, okay, but why can't a Hispanic person just have a regular love story? Like, why does it have to be a quinceañera? So I think when I started my internships that first summer after my freshman year of college, I was really diving deeper into the world of like, what is my identity now that I'm in this new space, especially at, you know, a place like Hallmark Channel. And so, I think I was just really craving finding my community. And I mean, even in spaces, even on my team now, you know, I have one Hispanic man, I'm the Hispanic female, and everyone else is American. So, or white.
I'm like, y'all are all American.
I'm also American. And then it's also finding that balance between being Mexican and Mexican American, because there are, you know, I'm a proud first generation Latina, but I have so many friends, or I know a lot of people that are second generation, and it's like that disconnect of like culture as well. And I'm like, no, I grew up going to Tijuana, or I grew up going to Mexico at least once a year. Like most of my family is over there, you know, like, oh, you guys, all your cousins are over here. And like having that is part of my identity.
I honestly think that like one of my proudest moments of the work that not moments, but like things that we do, is that a lot of our friends that like go to our events, our networking mixers, have gotten hired by different companies, like because our friends now know that we have a network, right? Like a friend that worked at Young Sheldon, he was like, hey Kiara, do you know someone who would be interested in this? And then my friend Isabel, who's come to the events, started working at this show as a PA, or our friend Alejandra that got hired for Amazon, or also for an Amazon event, or also a friend got repped by a manager because she met someone at our events, and because also we advocate, right? I was like, with that friend, I was like, you want to be a manager? Let's find you some artists, and like we help build those bridges, but like I am very proud that we've become that space for like BIPOC in different spaces of entertainment, right? What would you say is your proudest moment or achievement that we've done here with the podcast?
Well, I'm very much like an example of the success story here at Artisteada. Like I've worked with so many of the people that we met at the events. Like I actually worked at Young Sheldon too.
What?
Like the San Enrique.
Oh
and then I worked with Caroline, I worked with Ali all the time. I've met like Encrypt and Jen through here, but I worked with them eventually. Like it's been kind of crazy how like we're always like, hey, they didn't run you come to my event, like hey,
like, hey, I've seen you before.
Wait, who do we know? Oh, we know all the same people.
Yeah, you go on Instagram and you see your mutuals and you're like, yep.
Honestly, that's your resume at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and no, I mean, that like is, I think my proudest thing is just kind of like, one, we have this network and, you know, people come to us, like you said, our friends already know, oh, this is a group, this is a collective, and they have talked to these people before. Like I had someone from a large company ask me for a muralist. When was I ever gonna know a muralist? Never. Especially sitting at a desk all day. And so it was just really amazing to be like, I know her, you know, I'll send you her Instagram, this is what she's done, blah, 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 blah. Hit me up if she gets hired, you know? Like, that's the success story.
To add it to our data.
Yeah, so I know that I helped her get there. No, but also just, like at the end of the day, that's the industry. That's what it is. It's all about networking, and that's how all these people are able to have jobs, right? Because they know someone. So it's nice that we are the ones that they know, and we are the ones that are able to connect them. And it's just having that title of like, oh, I know someone.
Yeah. And I think like for knowing what we've been able to build in what has it been, a little bit over a year now, with together. The podcast together as a team. I am just so excited about the future. I think that like covering red carpets and asking these meaningful questions in spaces that are celebratory of Mexican film, or also we went to the Pan-African Film Festival, and it was a different audience from like who we are, but we want to celebrate those stories too. But also our podcast, our events where we create these spaces for people to meet. How do you envision our future? Like, where do you see La Artisteada maybe next year, maybe in a couple years?
I mean, I've been here from the start, so I think it was hard for me to even envision what it was going to look like then. You know, we started off as a podcast, and then together the three of us were like, wait, but we're doing more now. You know, we're now going to events, we're doing recaps, we're entering the space of live episodes.
We're getting invited.
Yeah. We're going to festivals, we're going, you know, so I think just that jump from, hey, no, we're no longer a podcast, we're now a media collective, right? I think that's kind of just how I see it continuing to grow. I think it's going to be such an exciting time of kind of setting our foot down in this large world, but getting recognized without, like you said, us being invited, not us having to reach out. And I think it's just, social media is so large, and I think we've seen it recently, how our videos and how all of our information is being spread across not just Los Angeles but globally at some point. So yeah, I'm just very excited to kind of like keep on growing our network, not only in the city of LA but beyond that.
Everywhere. Yeah.
I just love the collective part of this. I think we are a community, and that's something that I really look forward to growing. Like, I know we have all these things that we do, and like all these events and the podcast, but it's just like so nice to work with friends, so nice to be able to trust all these people. Like, it's so nice to work with you guys. Like, it's just been like very fulfilling. And I don't know how we're gonna go. Like, every day it's like kind of a mystery, like, how is this gonna work?
Yeah.
Normally, like, you know, we always throw things out there. Like, so at the end, I'm excited. Like, I don't have expectations, but I'm not aiming for the moon.
Yeah. I think I'm particularly excited about new ways in which we're going to explore media, right? Like our last episode, we covered a photo exhibit by a person that I deeply admire, Talia Goches, and like this, you were like, let's reach out and see if we can cover this event, and then we did a whole episode, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to like change how we are. What we are already doing, but I am just so excited to continue to have conversations that I believe are very important. I think that we all go to panels and it's like, okay, then now people meet, but I'm like, but I don't feel like things are coming out of it. And just to know that we are a space where we have conversations that are deeply meaningful and are also taking the extra step to make sure that people get something valuable out of this, because it's not like, oh, we're just here for the money. It's like, no, we're here to like really put people together to help each other, push each other towards our goals, right? So I'm like, that's what we've done, and I am just so excited that now that we've set precedent for the type of events that we're doing, I'm like, sponsors, watch out, because we're gonna be reaching out next year for you to support like our Culture Connects, our live episodes that thankfully have like the people are showing up, and I think that the community is excited to be in conversation and find ways in which we can support each other. So I'm just so excited for everything that we're doing and for us to be able to like keep posting more episodes more regularly. A couple of events that we're also doing in the future. So if you like what we do, if you enjoyed this episode, please, we can only grow with your support. So make sure to subscribe and also send it to a friend who maybe is just having an idea to have a podcast that is like, I don't know where to start. Well, we just told you how that process can be, and also for y'all to keep coming to our creative community events. We are like genuinely, we believe that we can continue to support each other. So we need you so that we can continue to grow this this community. Thank you so much for being on this episode of La Artisteada. We hope to see you at our next event.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of La Artisteada, a media collective for global culture shapers. Make sure to subscribe and let us know how your art is impacting the world around you on our social media channels at la.artisteada. This episode could not be possible without the amazing team behind it, Erin Jimenez, Diego Lopez de Anda, and myself, Kiara. See you on the next episode.